You got the offer. 6 months of interviews, 4 rounds of coding challenges, system design questions you half understood while nodding like you absolutely understood, behavioral rounds where you pretended to have leadership experience, you, a person who once spent 40 minutes deciding which Chipotle protein to get. LeetCode. Hours of LeetCode. Medium problems, hard problems, problems where you knew the solution 2 seconds after reading the prompt, and problems that made you feel like you'd never written a line of code in your life. You practiced with your friends, you practiced alone at midnight, you practiced in the shower, mentally explaining the sliding window algorithm to imaginary interviewers who kept asking follow-up questions. You got the offer. Google, Meta, Amazon. One of the 5. You're 22. Base salary $165,000. Signing bonus $50,000. Stock grants vesting over 4 years. Total first-year comp lands around $190,000. The number feels impossible until you calculate taxes and realize it's actually just comfortable, which is its own specific kind of humbling, like finally affording a nice apartment and discovering the nice apartment is in San Francisco, so it's a 400 square foot studio above a kombucha bar. You start in July. Orientation week. 500 new engineers from around the world, all 22 years old, all wearing the branded hoodie they handed you on day 1. You've never felt more like a new employee, and also more like a person who has made it simultaneously. Both feelings are lying to you. You get a laptop, you clone the repository, it has 150,000 files. You don't understand why. The codebase is 15 years old. Some of it was written by people who no longer exist in the organization, not in a dark way, they just left for a startup in 2016. You spend 3 days setting up your environment. Something about Docker containers and build systems that have names like someone just slammed their keyboard and said, "Good enough, ship it." Day 4, someone assigns you a ticket. It's labeled easy. It is not easy. You ask questions, your tech lead responds at 6 p.m., you're already home. You feel bad for having messaged her at all, like you texted your professor on a Saturday. She tells you not to feel bad. You spend the evening reading code, you don't sleep well, you fix the bug on day 6. It was a typo. 1 character, a single misplaced letter that broke the entire system, which honestly is both humiliating and the most relatable thing a computer has ever done. You submit your change, code review, 3 engineers ask questions, you answer them, 2 ask follow-ups, you change the code 3 times. Finally, an approval, your name is on the commit. You feel something like accomplishment. The feeling lasts approximately 11 minutes until you see 10 other commits merged that day. You are very replaceable. You know this. Everyone knows this. You're not afraid, though. This is the opportunity. 2 years, maybe 3. Get the brand, get the stock to vest, exit to a startup with a better title. This is the plan. Everyone has this plan. You haven't been there long enough to know if the plan works. Level 2, the mid-level engineer. You survived year 1. You got your first equity refresh grant. The initial grant is still vesting. Your base went up slightly. Total comp is now around $280,000. You're 25. The promotion happened without a meeting. Someone updated the org chart. Now you're mid-level. Mid-level means something, not as much as you thought. You now oversee junior engineers who remind you of yourself 14 months ago, except they seem more confident, which is confusing because you definitely still don't know what you're doing. They look at you the way you looked at your tech lead, which means they think you have answers. You sometimes have answers. The answers are, "Good question, let me look into it," followed by you frantically searching the internal wiki. You lead a small project, not alone, with a tech lead who is technically above you on the org chart, even though you're both mid-level. The title system, if you stare at it long enough, starts to look like one of those optical illusions where you can't tell which way the staircase goes. The project is supposed to launch in 6 weeks. 3 weeks in, it's clearly not launching in 6 weeks. Requirements changed, infrastructure doesn't support what you're building, the tech lead says to cut scope. You cut scope. You still miss the deadline by 2 weeks. The launch is a small thing. 5,000 users see your feature on day 1. Maybe it gets buried in an update announced at a keynote that 3 million people watch. Your name appears on an internal wiki. Your parents wouldn't understand. Your college friends don't understand. One of them asks if you basically just make apps. You say yes because the alternative is a 40-minute explanation that ends with everyone staring at their drinks. On-call rotation starts now. Every 5th week, you carry the pager, metaphorically because it's 2025 and it's your phone. A bug happens at 2 a.m. Adrenaline. You get up, you debug in the dark, which is somehow both very technical and very deeply unwell. You fix it, or you escalate it. You go back to bed at 4 a.m. You do not sleep. You lie there cataloging everything else that could break, like a cursed nighttime hobby. The on-call week is always the week you were supposed to work on the cool project. The cool project slides. The pattern becomes clear. Operational work expands to fill all available space, like a gas, like anxiety, like the number of Slack channels on any given team. You have offers from other places. A startup in San Francisco wants you. Better title, more equity. You decline. The brand matters. The stock is starting to feel real. You'll stay. Maybe you'll actually stay.
Level 3. The senior engineer. Senior happened. There was a meeting, but you were the last to know about it because your skip level told your manager, who told HR, who updated the system before anyone told you. That's how Google does it. That's how Meta does it. You find out about your own promotion the way you find out about a surprise party. Too late to be surprised, just in time to feel weird about it. You're 28. Base $210,000. Bonus higher. Stock grants much larger. Total comp around $360,000. The number means less than it used to. A year in San Francisco will do that to a number. You own a system now. Not the whole system, a critical subsystem that powers a major product feature. Millions of people use it. You think about this sometimes in the shower. Usually you're thinking about the shower. Occasionally, you're thinking about the fact that your database schema decision from 18 months ago is currently affecting 40 million daily active users, which is a level of consequence that is genuinely hard to hold in your head while shampooing. You make architectural decisions. You have real debates with other senior engineers. Measured, technical, occasionally very passive-aggressive in a way only engineers can achieve, through comments and code reviews that say things like, interesting choice, which in engineering means the same thing as bless your heart in the South. When you're wrong, it takes 6 months to fix. When you're right, nobody notices. This is the deal you signed. You didn't read the fine print. You mentor a junior engineer. He has potential. You try to help him avoid the traps. He ignores your advice and learns the hard way anyway. You watch this happen and feel something between frustration and deep spiritual recognition. You also ignored your mentor's advice. You also learned the hard way. The cycle, as they say, continues. You didn't get promoted to staff this cycle. Someone else did. They shipped less, but they were louder about it. They wrote internal blog posts. They presented at all hands. You were too busy shipping to talk about shipping. You realized this was a mistake. The machine doesn't reward output. It rewards perceived output. These are different things. You start writing about your work. It feels like bragging. You're told it's visibility. You're told visibility matters. You tell yourself impact speaks for itself. The impact is not speaking for itself. The impact has no LinkedIn. The impact is not posting. Your significant other brings up the 80-hour weeks. You don't have a good answer. You say next quarter will be better. Next quarter is always busier. This is a sentence you will say 8 more times across 6 years and it will never become true. Level 4, the staff engineer. Staff happened suddenly and took 3 years. You're 31. Base $245,000. Bonus $75,000. Stock enormous. Total comp around $420,000. You've stopped looking at the compensation statement because it's the kind of number that sounds incredible, and then your SF rent is due and you remember that money is a social construct designed to feel insufficient at every income level. Staff engineer is different. You don't own a system anymore. You shape systems. You look at what 3 teams are building and you say, this should talk to that. You write design documents, long ones. The document review thread has 47 comments. 11 of them are about the scope. 9 of them are about terminology. One of them is someone asking if this has been considered from a privacy lens, which it has, but now you have to write 2 more paragraphs to prove it. You fly to the Seattle office on Sundays, every month. Sunday evening flights. The airport is a specific kind of tired, not the tired of having done too much, but the tired of doing the same thing so many times it stopped being a feeling and become a schedule. You get the same seat. You order the same drink. The flight attendant might recognize you. You're not sure. You're scared to ask. You have the title now, the one you wanted at 22.
It doesn't fit quite the way you imagined when you were grinding LeetCode in your college apartment at 1 a.m. surrounded by empty Red Bull cans and the particular desperation of a person who really wants to get into a big tech company. The title is real. The life around it is complicated. You're wealthy now, technically. It's the kind of wealth that crept up on you, like someone kept adding money to your bank account while you were distracted by the Sunday flights. You don't feel wealthy. You feel tired. Wealthy and tired is a combination nobody prepares you for. There's no blog post about it. There's no framework for it. There's just you in seat 14A wondering exactly what the plan was.
Level 5. The Principal Engineer. Principal is strange. You're 36. The promotion was ceremonial. Compensation around $650,000 total. Could be $750,000 next year. Could be $550,000. The board decides based on metrics you don't fully control, which is deeply funny for a person who has spent 15 years believing technical excellence is measurable. You define direction now. Technical strategy for your area. 500 engineers. You don't manage them, you influence them. This is the principal thing. Influence without authority, which sounds like leadership philosophy and feels like trying to turn a container ship using a very politely worded memo. You write documents. They're long. They propose directions. Sometimes the entire company adopts the direction. Sometimes it's ignored. When it's ignored, you internalize it as your fault, which a therapist might have something to say about if you had consistent availability for therapy, which you do not because your calendar is, you guessed it, completely full. The VC fund called again. CTO offer, $1.2 million base, real carry, real equity, board seat. You'd own the outcome. You'd own the failure, too. You interview. You like the team. You turn it down. You tell yourself it wasn't the right opportunity. You tell yourself you need the brand one more year. You know you're lying. You stay. Level 6. The Director. Director happened. You're 41. You stopped writing code 3 years ago and didn't notice until you looked at your calendar, and it was entirely meetings. Meetings about meetings. Meetings to prepare for meetings. One meeting that was, upon reflection, an email. You manage directors now. 2 of them. They manage teams. The teams ship features. You review the features in a document. Sometimes your comments change direction. Sometimes they don't. You don't always know why. This is the part nobody tells you about senior leadership. The uncertainty doesn't go away, it just gets more expensive. Your compensation is $580,000, less than principal. Director is actually a pay cut. You took it because it was the available move. The principal slots were full. You took the open door. You're still not sure if this was the right decision. You think about it occasionally at 7 p.m. when you're leaving the office, which is earlier than you used to leave, but you are one of exactly 3 people who leaves this early, so it still feels conspicuous. You are the translator now, between engineers and executives. Engineers want clarity. Executives want roadmaps. You spend your days converting between these 2 languages, and the honest truth is that you're very good at it, and it is absolutely the most boring thing you've ever excelled at, like being the world's fastest person at untangling Christmas lights. You have $4 million in equity. You have a mortgage on a house that costs more than your college education, which felt crazy until you saw what your college education costs now, at which point the house seemed almost reasonable. You have a retirement account that is technically overfunded. You could retire. You don't know what you'd do. You stay. Level 7. The Senior Principal or Distinguished Engineer. You're 47. You've been here 19 years. You are the company in a way that is difficult to explain and easy to feel. Junior engineers know your name from the systems they study, not from social media, not from a podcast, from error messages, from architecture diagrams, from lines of code that still run in production that have your name on the commit from a decade ago. You are famous in a way that is invisible to everyone outside a very specific professional context, like being a beloved figure at a regional quilting convention, deeply meaningful to the people who understand it, completely unremarkable to everyone else. Your compensation was $1.3 million last year, $1.1 million the year before. The variation is large. You stopped caring about the variation. The lifestyle adjusted years ago and then stopped adjusting. There is a specific ceiling to what more money changes about a life, and you found it,
which is simultaneously the most privileged problem a human being can have and also genuinely true. You have everything the 22-year-old with the broken Docker setup wanted: the title, the number, the office, the stock that kept growing through 3 market cycles. You have name recognition and conference invitations and advisory board seats and the ability to get a meeting with anyone in the industry by sending a single email, which is a kind of power that sounds impressive until you consider that you mainly use it to attend more meetings. You have a complicated relationship with your spouse, with your daughter who used to wait at soccer practice, with your son who learned not to ask when you'd be home. These are not things that happened in dramatic moments. There was no scene, no confrontation, just a series of ordinary days where you weren't quite there, and then it was years, and then it was who everyone became in relation to that absence. You're not sure when it happened. One day you were managing a team. The next you were speaking at a conference about the future of distributed systems to a room full of people who will be junior engineers by the time you're done talking. And somewhere in between, time passed the way time passes when you're very busy, all at once and without warning. People ask if it was worth it. Not directly. Nobody asks directly. They ask it the way people ask big questions, sideways, obliquely, by telling you about their own situation and watching your face for information. You don't have a clean answer. You have built something important. It runs in data centers across the world. Billions of people use systems you designed. They'll never know you. You'll never know them. You spent 19 years becoming a legend inside an organization, and you're not sure if that's the same as a life, and you're also not sure what the alternative would have been.